floor is given to the spokesman of the Presidential Administration on ATO issues, Colonel Lysenko. Hello, dear colleagues. Here what happened in anti-terrorist operation territory within the last 24 hours. In Luhansk sector, the shelling continues, in particular in Popasnyansky region. They were shelling Novoalexandrivku once again, however, without heavy armament. Instead, they fired several mines to the neighboring Novozvanivka. Another provocation with the mortars happened close to Raivka in the Slovyano-Serbsk region on the right bank of Seversky Donetsk River. Early in the morning, the ceasefire was violated in Stanitsa Luhanska, as it was a month ago. In Donetsk sector, the situation remains the most difficult. 2/3 of all the shelling are executed with mortars, mostly with a caliber 120 millimeters. They're the most active in Svetlodarsk curve, to the north of the occupied Horlivka, and in Avdiivska industrial zone. Within the last 24 hours, the illegal militants shelled 200 mines, and short usage of mortars were traced in Troitske, Novoselivka, Druga, Piske, and Nevelske. In Svetlodarsk curve, and in particular in Luhansk village, the enemies were using the armed vehicles and snipers. In Avdiivska industrial zone, the situation is difficult. From the east, the militants are shelling our sites with all armaments except for tanks and artillery. In Donetsk airport, these militants violated the ceasefire 3 times, and they were using armed vehicles, mortars, and firearms. Altogether, there were 33 shelling, and 22 of them with heavy armament. In Mariupol sector, the situation was as follows. For the third time within a week, the shelling was executed with tube artillery close to Vodyane. They shelled 20 shells of 122 millimeter caliber. They were also using the heavy armament, in particular 120 millimeters mortars in Starognatівська, Pavlopole, Talakivka, and in Shirokino. And they were using the heavy armament both at night and in the daytime. And the intensive fire contact between the ATO forces and militants are continuing along the contact line in Mariupol sector. In Mariinka, snipers were active, and the militants were using grenade launchers of different systems, large caliber machine guns, and it continued for 2 hours. The same situation is in Shirokine. Altogether in Mariupol sector, 33 shelling were traced, 1/3 of them with heavy armament. And the air espionage continues with 9 drones in all 3 sectors. For the last 24,000 as of 12 as of midnight, 1 Ukrainian militant was killed and 6 were injured. So our deepest condolences to the family and friends of the deceased. And the militants also were suffering losses. 6 were killed and 7 were injured. They belong to the so-called 3rd Brigade from Horlivka, 11th Regiment from Makiyivka, and 7th Brigade from Debaltseve. The heaviest losses suffered the 11th Motor Rifle Regiments from Makiyivka suffered the largest losses. And the intelligence proves that there is not enough people with fighting for the illegal militants, and in particular, when refused the retirement, the representatives of the Russian citizen Dorji Badamayev from Kalmykia, who is fighting for the 3rd Motor Rifle Brigade, blowed himself. And there were also facts of the several militants were detained in Kramatorsk. One of the person called Dobry, who worked at the checkpoint, was detained. He told that he was promised money. However, he was deceived and he left the armed gang. And in Turetsk, the special group of police, anti-terrorist group of the police, started helping the inhabitants. And there were 13 patrols. They are patrolling the places for 24 hours, and in particular they detained one of the drug dealer and also the coal stealers and confiscated illegal armaments. They are also explaining the inhabitants about this situation and security measures. And in Pokrovsk, in Donetsk region, the 2 grenade launchers, 5 grenades and explosives and cartridges were confiscated. These armaments were for the special raiders group. And close to Lysychansk, in the close by forest, another hideaway was found, and the grenade launcher cartridges, detonator, and explosives was confiscated. And another armament hideaway was found in Donetsk. In particular, they confiscated 7 artillery shells, 2 cumulative shells, and explosive. And another the military exercise, engineering military exercise for aimed at training of discarding the explosives were conducted in Kamenets-Podilsky. The major Hugo market from Canada was delivering this course, and altogether since September 2015, the Canadian military instructors have been preparing the 133 Ukrainian engineer servicemen, and they were trained according to the NATO standard. And in Lviv region, there is another military, international military exercise. The international instructors from the USA, Canada, Lithuania, Poland, and the UK are sharing their experience. At first, they are delivering the individual training, and then platoons and regiments. Also firing exercise are included. Do you have any questions? Hello, Ksenia Dvornikova, Fifth Channel. I have a question concerning the Facebook network. In particular, Yuri Butusov mentioned about the attack to the Ukrainian forces close to Troitsko. There were 3 people were killed, 3 people suffered heavy injuries, and 7 other injuries. When did it happen? Before the midnight or after? And what happened? Yes, really. Approximately at 4 a.m. close to Troitsk, the artillery shelling happened. Ukrainian militants, Ukrainian servicemen suffered. However, we don't have the exact numbers, but we do confirm this shelling. Do you have any more questions? If no, thank you.